Hey comic lovers, EMoney and the Old Man here with you again, and today we have another comic review video. And for this one, it is the week of February 17th, 2021. And today we have 14 comics to review, and we have, how many for Future State, old man?
6 for Future State.
6 for Future State, and it's the second to last week for Future State.
Full week. There's one straggler that'll be out in late March.
Okay. For the most part, I won't be sad to see him go.
No, the Future State. I mean, I'm not having a good time with it.
There's been a few gems in the bunch, but for the most part, I won't miss them.
Want me to discuss scoring?
Let's do scoring.
All right. So how we score these comics? I take all the comics we got on Wednesday and I read them. EMoney takes all the comics that we got on Wednesday and he reads them. We don't talk about it. Okay. I score on a 5-shield system, 5 being the best, of course. What I thought about the writing and the artwork. If a comic has more than one story, we do each story separately and then average it out for the entire comic.
Mm-hmm.
EMoney does the same thing. He scores his comics that he read exactly the same way. Then we take the numbers that we gave, average them together to come up with a total score for each comic.
All right, so let's do the Future State ones first. Let's
All right.
get them over with, as it were.
Well, next week we need to do them last.
Okay.
Maybe. We'll see. At any rate, we'll start off with Catwoman, number 2. Had a $3.99 cover price.
All right, so as we saw in the last issue on here, Catwoman is trying to rescue a bunch of people on a train that is controlled by the magistrate, the oppressive, authoritarian rulers of Gotham, and she's in for a couple of surprises on the train. Some things that she didn't think were on the train are on the train, and the guy in charge, don't like him. So, storyline wise, was thrilling enough, but not enough to give it a high score. It was a 3. Artwork, I mean, I think I gave it a generous 3. There were a couple of parts where it was like, yeah, but I still gave it a 3.
Well, I wasn't as generous as EMoney. I thought the story was adequate. It was okay. I gave it a 3. The artwork, like I said, I wasn't feeling generous. I only gave it a 2. But this comic book still came in with 3 shields. All right. Next up, Future State, Immortal Wonder Woman, number 2. And this had a $5.99 cover price. It has 2 stories. So first up, the regular Wonder Woman.
First story is Diana Prince, and most of the story she's kind of flying through space at the end of everything, and I thought it was boring as hell. I mean, there's a few surprises here and there, but not enough that it made me like the story anymore, and I thought it was, other than the artwork, I thought it was pretty terrible. I gave the story a 1. Which, that might be a first, I'm not sure, I'd have to go back and check. Artwork was pretty good. It was the one redeeming quality in this story, so I gave the artwork a 4.
Alright, so I didn't hate the story as much as EMoney, although I did hate it. I only gave it 2 shields for the story. The artwork I didn't like as much as EMoney did, so instead of the 4 shields that he gave it, I only gave it 3. That particular story comes in at 2.5 shields. Next up, you've got the Nubia story.
So Nubia, another Wonder Woman, she was kidnapped or has been captured by, I've forgotten her name, but she's a bad guy. And she has summoned Circe, the sorceress, and she wants her to access the power in Nubia's tiara. And they try, and Circe gets more resistance than she bargained for.
She does.
And at one point in the story, it kind of reminds me of the scene at the end of the first Matrix movie, where Neo realizes his true power. So I got a kick out of that. It was sort of a slow build up until then. But that part was fun. So for story, I gave it a 3. Artwork, solid. I also gave a 3 too.
Well, agreed with you completely on the artwork. I gave it 3 shields, but like you said, the story started out slow, but I mean, even though, yeah, it picked up, but I was already done with it, so I gave the story 2 shields. Although the story still averaged out with 3 shields. The comic book in its entirety, take the 2 stories, add them together, it averaged out to 2.5 shields for Immortal Wonder Woman. Next up, we have the next Batman number 4. I opted to go with the cardboard variant because I thought it looked good. It comes in at a whopping $8.99 cover price. This one has 3 stories.
All right, so first story, Batman is trying to help these 2 ungrateful bastards they committed a crime, but it's a crime that has like a bit of gray to it. But he knows that if he turns them over to the magistrate, they'll likely be executed on the spot. So he wants to turn them over to the GCPD, where he knows that they'll be processed and get a fair trial. So he has to get them, I think it was like 30 blocks or something, to GCPD headquarters. And most of the story is a big chase scene, which I thought was fun. It was pretty great action, good storytelling. I gave the first story in this a 4. Artwork also pretty solid. I can good detail. I can tell what's happening. I also gave a 4 too.
Well, I gave the story a 3. It was pretty good. The artwork, I can't give a 4 when most of the panels' background are just solid colors. I mean, very little detail in the background at all. I love me some Barry Smith, where his backgrounds were just extremely intricate. But at any rate, I still thought it was okay. I gave it 3 shields for the art. So that story averaged out at 3.5 shields. Next, you got the Batgirl story.
All right, so the story follows in a prison where the magistrate has locked up, just about everybody. Anybody who is a troublemaker, metahumans, heroes, villains, doesn't matter. They're all the same to the magistrate. The OC captain in this story is like, boy, I hated him. I was ready for him to get what was coming to him. And the story was pretty good because I love the tagline for this story. It's once a Batgirl, always a Batgirl. And it shows them teaming up. And there's one part in the story where the cavalry shows up. Like, I don't think I got enough of that in this story, but it was there. So I gave it a 3 for story because of the slight shortcomings. I didn't give it a higher score. And artwork, solid. I gave it a 3.
Well, we tied on this one. I gave it 3 and a 3, which obviously the story averages out to 3 shields. Next up, you've got the Gotham City Siren story.
All right, so next up is a team up between Catwoman and Poison Ivy, 2 characters we don't see hang out that much, and they have met a new friend since in the last issue, who she's sort of like an AI robot, cybernetic type thing.
She's a cyborg.
And people from the magistrate, I think, want her. And I didn't like the first part of this story. This one, not a whole lot better. The most interesting part of this story was when the 3 girls are sitting in the hot tub together and they start reminiscing about old romances. And, if a conversation is the best part of the story, maybe it's not such a good story in the first place. So I had to give the story a 2. Artwork, good enough. I gave a 3.
All right, agreed on the artwork. I gave it a 3, but I disagree with you on the bit about a conversation being a negative, because if you look at the opening to Reservoir Dogs, the conversation that all the guys have in the restaurant about tipping, one of the best scenes in the movie. So conversation can be entertaining, but
we all can't be Quentin Tarantino.
That's true, and this person is not. But I gave it 3 stars for both. So this story averaged out to 3 shields, as did the entire comic. Once we put the 3 stories together, still gets 3 shields. Next up, Future State Nightwing. Once again, opted for the cardboard variant cover. That one had a $4.99 cover price.
All right, so Nightwing, up until now, has used the old Arkham ruins as his headquarters, and he goes back to it, and somehow the magistrate has tracked him to this location. They've surrounded the building. The new Batman made his way into Nightwing's hideout before the magistrate surrounded it, and they weren't on the same page yet up until this point. The new Batman was doing his thing, Nightwing was doing his thing, and now they've kind of met up. So, magistrate is launching an assault on Arkham, and it was pretty fun stuff, pretty good action. The villain, like I did hate her, but not quite as much as others.
I thought she was pretty easy to hate.
Yep. And this one had a cavalry arriving scene, and
you've always liked the cavalry coming in.
Yeah,
didn't you?
I mean, you know,
You ought to see him in a western when the cavalry shows up. Woohoo!
I mean, Avengers Endgame had like the ultimate cavalry arriving scene, and
They did.
you know, more on that later. But it was good stuff, and it had a pretty satisfying conclusion to this when they confront the villain in this story, not the head of the magistrate. But pretty exciting stuff. I gave a 4 for story and 4 for artwork.
All right. I agree with you 100% on the story. I gave it 4 shields also. So far as the artwork, I mean, it was a little bit above average, but not enough for me to give it a 4. I gave it a 3. This particular comic, by the time you round it up, it did get 4 shields. All right, next we have the Future State Shazam. And once again, I paid the $1 extra for the cardboard variant. This is Shazam number 2.
All right, so Shazam is at odds with the Teen Titans, and he's not acting like himself. And they don't know why, and he's not really giving them a lot of details. I'm not sure what his reasons are. Maybe he can't. And they want him to say the word and go back to being Billy, and he won't. And there are forces under the surface that the Teen Titans are not aware of, and a lot of guest appearances in here that they're trying to come up with like creative ways to subdue Shazam, because you know he's incredibly powerful, as you probably know, and the way they get him to finally submit was interesting. And you know, there's a panel at the end where they show what's coming next in the story, and I'm supposed to be like, oh God, no, but I don't know who this is. So
I don't either.
I mean, it's bad. I get that it's bad, but I don't know who it is. So story-wise, I gave it a 3. Artwork was really well detailed. I gave that a 4.
Agree with you 100%. I gave the story a 3. I loved the guest appearances. I thought some of the guest stars were really good, very enjoyable. Our work was even better, gave it a 4. So this comic comes in at 3.5 shields. All right. Next up, we have Future State Superman, Worlds of War number 2. It had a $7.99 cover price because it has 4 stories in it.
Well, 4 stories, you get a lot of mixed feelings on this issue.
No, I don't know about mixed, but at any rate, do the Superman story.
All right, first is the Superman story. In the last issue, we follow this girl who is in Smallville, and in this story, Superman's secret is out. His secret has been out for
Everybody
years.
knows.
Yeah. So people are telling all these stories about how Superman saved their lives. This girl has a different story. Her story is how Clark Kent saved her life. And for most of the story, it's telling in the text the article that Clark Kent wrote years ago, while the panel is showing a story that can be related to what story Clark Kent is telling. They're two very different stories, though. But the story goes like that, and then the end of the story, it's like, you want satisfaction. Like, you want to see the villain get what's coming to him, and hopefully it'll be you'll get that in the continued story, which is going to be Superman House of L #1 is
next week.
Yeah. So the story I gave a 3 to. Interesting storytelling. I give him that, but still I just gave him a 3. Artwork also a 3.
I think the writer did a good job with this, so I gave the writing 4 shields and the artwork 3 shields. The story rounded it out to 3 shields overall. Next up, your favorite, the Mr. Miracle story.
I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time on this. I wish they would stop doing this story.
I think they will.
It's not a good story. It's not good artwork. Mr. Miracle deserves better. It's a 2 for story, 2 for artwork.
We tied.
Okay.
I don't like the story, don't like the artwork, and I love Mr. Miracle. I mean, Scott Free is one of my favorites. Well, this isn't Scott Free. It's a different Mr. Miracle, I'm pretty sure. But I gave it 2 and 2, so obviously this story gets 2 shields. Next up, Midnighter.
All right. Now, I think I said last time I don't really know a whole lot of Midnighter.
Still don't.
Yeah. Except that he vaguely resembles Batman in the vaguest sense of the word. But he's fighting this, all-powerful android-type character who seemingly can't be killed no matter how much you hurt him. And so Midnighter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Midnighter has to get creative. At one point during the story, they introduce a time travel sort of element to it. And, it was okay at best, but I ended up giving the story a 2 because, maybe I'm being unfair because I don't know Midnighter that well, but still, that's my grade and I'm sticking to it.
Well, I didn't like it either. I gave it 2 and 2, which...
Okay. I gave the artwork a generous 3.
So that one ends up barely squeaking in at 2.5 shields.
All right, so last story is Black Racer. And, same thing as for this as Mr. Miracle. I feel like you're wasting paper. Can't get into the story. I know Mr. Miracle. I don't know Black Racer that well or at all. But still, I thought the story was bland. Artwork was meh. So 2 and 2 on both of those for this.
Yeah. I agree with you on the story. It was pretty meh. Artwork, I thought the artwork was okay, so I gave it 3. So this story rounded up to 2.5 shields. When you put all 4 stories together, this comic only got 2.5 shields. So last for DC this week is a non-future state book.
Only non-future state.
It's Truth and Justice #1. I opted for the Vixen variant, and it has a $4.99 cover price.
All right, so story follows Vixen, and I haven't read a whole lot of solo Vixen stories, but she's doing a photo shoot, and she gets called away to an emergency. And I kind of kick out of the photo shoot scene where she's getting frustrated with her agent, and because she says the whole African background with her posing with a stuffed lion has been completely played out. Then when a superhero named, oh gosh, I forget his name. He's named after an Impala. A speedster by the name of Impala shows up saying that they need her in Africa. And when she tries to run away and the agent objects, she says, "Tell the network to check the contract if they've got a problem. Heroics clause, paragraph 6. I thought that was funny. But she joins Impala, and apparently a archaeologist has taken possession of an artifact and is now being possessed by a ancient spirit.
These guys never learn. You don't touch stuff.
Yep. kind of reminds me of the plot to the Suicide Squad movie. But anyways, so she goes off, and apparently they can't call in the Justice League because they will be corrupted by the Spirit's power.
Yeah, they're afraid of what will happen if somebody like Superman gets close to this thing.
Yeah, somehow Vixen's totem gives her immunity to its influence. Anyways, so they fight, and it was a pretty interesting fight. Good storytelling, I'd say, especially since I don't go for Vixen stories that much, but good lead up. So I gave a 3 for story. Artwork solid. I also gave a 3 too.
But the art was a little bit better than that. I agree with you on the story. I gave it 3 shields. Artwork 4 shields. So it averaged up to 3.5 shields for that particular comic. And,
All right, so there are the DC issues for this week.
Right.
All right, so next up we have our Marvel issues. And first up we have a Captain America story.
All right. I don't know if this was a variant. We don't always get Captain America, even though he's my guy. Got this one because of the Alex Ross cover. So this is number 27, $3.99.
All right, so full disclosure, the story picks up from a story that we didn't read.
Right.
Captain America is apologizing for an event that happened that I guess it built a lot of mistrust between the American people and Captain America. So he's trying to get back into the groove of things, and he's in a relationship with Agent 13, and a lot of people don't like Captain America, and they are staging a protest. All these different hate groups, Red Skulls, the New Watchdogs, Friends of Humanity. A lot of you might know if you watched the X-Men Fox series. They were played a part in a lot of stories in that one. And Captain America is forced to break up the protest, which unsurprisingly turns violent. This is sort of an adjustment story, one that is it transitions from the big story that just happened into the one that they are getting into. So it was sort of slow in a lot of places. I gave the story a 3. Artwork, I think, looking back on it, I might have been a little bit generous by giving it a 3.
All right, so Captain America is usually going to get half a shield from me just because he's Captain America. The story was kind of slow. It's a setup story, and it's one of those where Cap is questioning his patriotism. He's questioning the country that he loves and has fought for so many times. And we've been here before with Cap. I mean, if you remember, he turned in his costume and shield and became Nomad for a while because he just couldn't support what was going on. So same old when it comes to that kind of stuff. But it's still Captain America. So I gave it 3 for the story, 3 for the art, and that one comes in for 3 shields for the comic. Next we have a one-shot, which after reading it made me sad that it's a one-shot. I wish this was ongoing. The creator on this one is a gentleman named Declan Shalvey. I hope I pronounced it right. He wrote it and did the artwork on it. It's Immortal Hulk Flatline #1 for $4.99.
Excuse me. All right, so in this one, we start off, Bruce Banner is living off the grid, and he kind of has an understanding with Hulk where, Bruce gets the days, Hulk gets the nights. But he's always waking up in odd places, which I think is like a little joke Hulk likes to play on.
I think Hulk's doing that on purpose.
Yeah. So Bruce meets an old friend, a professor that was sort of his mentor when he was in school. And we find out that, she's undergone a few changes over the years.
A little bit.
Yep. And she has it out, first has it out with Bruce and then has it out with Hulk. And, they they spar, and without giving too much away, it was pretty great storytelling, pretty great action. Sort of shows the tragedy of being both Bruce Banner and Hulk. So I gave a 4 for story. Artwork, pretty great also. I also gave it 4 too.
That one will be tied, E-Money. I thought the story was excellent, like I just said. I wish it was an ongoing series. I might have to find out what this Declan Shalvey has done in the past and see if I can't chase him a little bit, because very enjoyable. I'd like to see him.
And that's the artist?
Artist and writer.
Okay.
He pretty much did it all. Next, and if you watch our channel and you've seen some of our review videos before, you know the old man doesn't really like the King in Black. But we picked up, I think this is the second from the last one. I think it's a 5-issue miniseries. And just like the Future State DC books, I, for one, will be glad when we get past this. But this is King in Black number 4 with the $4.99 cover.
All right, so I enjoyed this hell of a lot more than the old man did.
Indeed.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm enjoying the King in Black overall more than he is, but this issue especially. So, beginning of the issue, Eddie Brock's son Dylan is captured by Null, and it's sort of like the all is lost moment. And then
Null's trying to get him to come to the dark side.
Yeah, pretty much. And Dylan hears a voice inside his head telling him what he needs to do. And Dylan launches his plan. He attacks.
Null doesn't hear the voice.
Yeah. And he begins setting the heroes free from Null's influence and Null's symbiotes. And, you know, this scene, I mean, it kind of reminded me a lot of the scene in Endgame when all the portals opened. You know, all the heroes are dead. They were dusted 5 years ago, and all of a sudden they're back. And it kind of gave me the chills. And they start to put their plan into action. And the leaders are like, you do your thing. You go. And, then it says, you two bring the something without giving it away. And the heroes are like, oh, yes. And they just launched their plan into action, and I loved it. I was getting excited as I read it. So by the end of the issue, help has arrived, even more than the heroes being set free.
The cavalry again.
Yeah. And I was just thrilled by the whole thing. So I gave the story a 5, and the artwork told the story. I gave a 3.
All right. Well, as far as I'm concerned, the only really good thing that the King of Black storyline has done is they got rid of Sentry. I just hope they don't bring him back. But at any rate, this particular issue, yeah, it might have been a little bit more interesting than the others, but it was still just an average Marvel story.
No.
Sorry.
No.
I gave it 3 and 3. So that one ended up, thanks to EMoney's 5, it got 3.5 shields. All right, next. My man Alex Ross's creation, well, not all his creation, he puts the book together, but the 3 stories in it are not his work, he just gathered them. But this is Marvel number 5, 3 stories. Started off with the story that features Doctor Strange's Wong.
All right, so given multiple stories, obviously mixed feelings about the issue. See, I wish Alex would do cooler stuff if he's gonna do only 1 or 2 pages.
He does an introduction and he does the epilogue.
Give me like a known character in here or something.
Nightmare is known.
Okay. Anyways, story with Wong is Painted, which that's sort of hit or miss with me. And Wong encounters a amateur practitioner and amateur.
You keep calling him amateur. I call him an idiot.
Okay, and he's sort of a magical tourist, if you will. And of course, Wong does not take well to that. And the story gets a little more interesting when he kind of puts the guy in his place. But the story I gave a 3-2. Artwork, like I said, I'm hit or miss about hand painted stuff. This one I averaged out to a 3.
Well, the artwork, it's a type of art that some people are going to like, some people are going to hate. I liked it. I gave it 4 shields. The storyline, I enjoyed it. It's good to see Juan get out there and stay busy. I gave it 4 shields also. That story averaged out to 3.5 shields. Next up, you have a Nick Fury story.
All right, so it's Berlin in 1945. The war has just ended, and Nick Fury is sitting down to have a drink in a mostly destroyed tavern, and he's reminiscing, telling war stories to this little German kid who doesn't understand a word he's saying.
Not getting a word, and I'll be honest with you, the way they wrote the dialogue for Nick, it was hard for us to understand.
Yeah, I was getting frustrated because he's talking drunk, and I can't understand what the hell he's saying. I have to sound it out like he's never actually thought through. Okay, through the show. Okay, all right. So he's telling war stories about Captain America, and the flashback where he talks about him and the others being pinned down in a foxhole until Captain America and Bucky arrive. That was a pretty great story. And at the end of the story, he talks about the end of the war and when they announced that Captain America had died. So story was pretty great. I gave a 4 to. Artwork also solid. Gave a 4.
Agree with you 100% on the artwork. I thought it was very good. I gave it 4. But this is another case of Captain America. He gets a little bonus. And to be honest, it's a very emotional story. I mean, all the World War II stuff with Captain America, him charging the machine gun emplacement, leading the men on, just sends shivers up my spine whenever I think about that kind of storyline. So I gave the story 5 shields. That one rounded up to 4 shields for the story, and next we have a short Wolverine story.
All right, so this one is a very short story. I mean, it's very simple and it's only a few pages long. The X-Men have tracked one of the Hulk's rampages, and they are fixing to engage him. Wolverine, obviously, was the first on the scene, and he's already engaged. And Professor Xavier and Cyclops are tracking what's happening, and they're kind of arguing over Wolverine's ability in the field. And Cyclops thinks he's all rage, he has no sense of strategy, and he gives into it every time. But Professor Xavier, he says, that's that's the way he works, that's the way he operates, and it usually works for him. So story-wise was 3, and I only gave it a 3 because it's sort of simple and it's a very short story. Artwork-wise, I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, it's hand-painted. The dimensions are near perfect. I mean, it's just a beautiful artwork here. So I gave the artwork a 5.
I never know what EMoney's going to like when it comes to art. Yes, it's painted art. I thought it was okay. The storyline, as EMoney said, it was very simple and very short. Well, to me, it was too simple and too short. There was no depth to it. So I gave the story 2 shields. I gave the artwork 3 shields. That story came in at 3 shields. If you take all 3 of these stories, average them out together, Marvel number 5 gets 3.5 shields. All right, here we go. Next, a little background on this. We picked up Thor number 12, $3.99 cover price. We have not reviewed Thor up till now because we weren't getting Thor. We read Thor God of Thunder. We picked it up in a collection, which is the way we used to get all of our comics. We didn't start buying new comics till a couple months ago. The God of Thunder was a great storyline, loved it. But friend of the channel, Jody Hickerson, kept insisting that we needed to read the new Thor title. So okay, I broke down, and thanks to the guys at Comic Book World, we were able to round up different third, fourth printing, whatever. I mean, there's a lot of key issues in this run, but we managed to put together the first 11 comics. We powered through them, read them in a couple of days. He's right. It's a great story.
Mm-hmm.
But then we get to number 12. I'll let you take it from there.
All right, so before this issue, Donald Blake, who you might remember as Thor's alter ego, has returned. And he's pissed off. He is pissed off about being imprisoned for all those years in this pocket dimension.
Thor kind of forgot about it.
Yeah. And so he's become pretty powerful. They explain it to where he's like fought thousands of battles in this pocket dimension. Every person that Thor knows, he's fought them like thousands of times and knows how to defeat them. When he first arrived, it was Sif, Beta Ray Bill, and who's the fat brothers three? Volstagg, and Asgard's elite guards are all telling him to stand down. And when I thought he was just playing Donald Blake, understandably pissed off Donald Blake, but still Donald Blake, I'm like, well, how can he possibly stop all this? He cuts through him like butter. He wades through him. So he's on a mission to eliminate all Thors, and not just all Thors, but anyone who has been blessed with Odin's power. So it started with Thor, and he got to he almost did it to Jane Foster, but he has feelings for Jane Foster, so I think he left her alone for now.
She's not actually a Thor, she's a Valkyrie.
Right. I mean, she was Thor at one point.
True.
Yeah.
He'd probably come back to her.
Yep. And, Beta Ray Bill, he took took his power. So now he is off to find more, and at the end of the last issue, he encounters Throg, the Frog of Thunder. And little summary about Throg. A mere mortal player of football with a tragic past, magically transformed into an amphibious demigod after a chance encounter with the mighty Thor. So there's that. And, he's probably expecting a pushover like he has with other Odin-blessed people, but it's not what he gets with Throg. He may have bit off a little more than he could chew, and this battle, I was getting a kick out of it. I was loving it. And, the story continues with him trying to hunt down all Odin power. And the last panel with a lot of issues, it's hit or miss for me, whether or not I get excited about it. This one gets me excited. It's like, all right, let's get this done. Let's do this. So I gave a 4 for story, 3 for artwork. Saw it, told the story, did what it needed to do.
Well, years ago, when Walter Simonson was doing the Thor comic, he decided, for whatever reason, to introduce us to the Frog of Thunder. If I ever meet the man, I'm going to have harsh words for him because I hate that he did that. So imagine my chagrin when I'm reading along 10, 11 great issues of Thor, and I get to number 12, or actually I think it was the last panel of number 11, and there's that damn frog. It's ridiculous. Talk about just taking the wind right out of my sails. So I didn't hate it enough to give it 1 for the story, but I did give it 2 because it's the Frog of Thunder. Artwork was fine. I gave it 3 shields. This one ended up with 3 shields overall. And hopefully, I don't remember how it ended because I was so upset, but hopefully we can move on from the damn frog. Alright, next up, a new comic, XMen Legends #1. And this one had a $4.99 cover price.
Alright, so this is a throwback to X-Men in its heyday. It even says on the first page, this story takes place after X-Men number 39, which was in 1991. And if you were a kid like me in the 90s, you probably had a lot of these action figures. A couple of characters show up, and it's like, I played with him. But story is decent enough, and it follows Scott and his brother Havoc, or Alex. I thought it was kind of funny because we're tackling the extreme age of comic books in the next issue of, or the next episode of Back Issues. And in one page we see Cable, and he says to another character, I thought both of us had gotten over our extreme phase. So that was fun. The artwork, I mean, you're doing these characters and trying to look like the 90s, and you're trying to be reminiscent of Rob Liefeld, which it's like, why would you do that?
I don't know.
So, a lot of this, I really didn't know what to do with it. So, I ended up giving it an average of 3 for story and 3 for artwork.
All right, with me, I mean, if you draw Cable, you pretty much are going to have to give some tribute to Liefeld since he created the character. But he didn't have out of proportion legs, and he had pupils, so I don't agree with you that they were drawing him like Liefeld. I think they did their own thing with it. Storyline was pretty good. Art was fine, so I gave it 3 and 3 also, so that comic gets 3 shields overall. And our last comic is not a DC comic. This is an IDW book. It is The Last Ronin, number 2, with a whopping $8.99 cover price. Now, for whatever reason, IDW has decided to make this book much bigger than a typical comic book. I've heard that they wanted it to be the same size as the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I think it might be bigger. I don't know.
All right, so little setup here. In the first issue, we see the last surviving Ninja Turtle. It's in the future, the last Ninja Turtle, and we don't know who the last turtle is because he doesn't wear the bandana, and
he has everybody's weapons.
Yeah, everybody's weapons, and he is fighting up this tower where the Foot Clan are, and he is trying to get to their leader, who I believe is a descendant of the Shredder. And at the end of the issue, we find out that it's Michelangelo is the last turtle, which surprised me. I mean, I had my money on Raphael. I would have sworn it was him, and it also surprised me because, Michelangelo, as everyone knows, is the party dude. He's the clown of the Turtles. He's not a clown anymore.
Nope, not at all.
Yeah. And so this issue picks up. We find out that April is also still alive. And she and Michelangelo reunite, and they reminisce about the past. And also in this issue, we get a flashback scene to find out what Raphael's fate was. So, issue is pretty great, and we meet a new ally as well. And the storytelling in this, I thought it was just pretty amazing. And I gave the story a 4, and artwork also a 4. Artwork was solid storytelling all on its own, I thought.
Well, you were always a fan of the Turtles, and to be honest...
Lifelong Turtle fan.
Yeah, and to be honest, it kind of pissed me off. For one, I had to watch a lot of Turtles cartoons, and when he was a kid, all he would eat was pepperoni pizza. I mean, I'm serious. Couldn't hardly feed him anything else. He wouldn't touch it. So, I hate him for that. But, even though I'm not a fan, that's a good comic. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The artwork was great. The story was great. So I gave it the same as EMoney, 4 and 4. So obviously that book comes in with 4 shields.
And his feelings on Ninja Turtles, so it's a big deal. So you know it's a good comic book.
I mean, I picked up the book not wanting to read it, and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
All right.
So
let's put this down and get to our top 3.
Yep. All right, so our top 3 was a little tricky this week because they were all 4-star ratings. So our number 3 pick, because it wasn't a solid 4.0, it was a 3.75 if you do the math. So that is why it's the number 3, and that is Future State Nightwing, or the number 3 pick. The other 2 were solid 4.0s.
Dead on ties.
Yeah, so we just had to kind of pick one. So for number 2, we ended up with Immortal Hulk Flatline. That's our number 2 pick. And number 1 was The Last Ronin.
Imagine that. A show that I'm involved in is given a Turtles book the number 1 spot.
Yep. So
amazing world we live in.
You know you have to pick it up now. All right, so those are our picks. So what did we miss? If there's issues that came out this week that we didn't review, let us know about it in the comments section. Also, if you disagree with some of our reviews, give us a good argument and let us know in the comments section.
I don't care if they give us a good argument when they disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to like it.
Give us a weak argument if you disagree with us.
I mean, I'm not going to like it because you like it, but, I mean, I like to hear what you have to say about it.
Okay, I'll give you that.
All right, so also, check out what we have going on the channel. We have our WandaVision on Friday. We're
That's
giving
tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Woo!
We have our reaction video for the new episode of WandaVision.
I'm pumped.
Excited. Who is the guy? I've heard a lot of theories about it, and we're gonna go over a few of them in tomorrow's video before we watch the show.
Of course.
And next week we're continuing our series on the history of comic books with
the Extreme Age.
The Extreme Age on back issues.
Or the Dark Age.
Yeah, and that covers most of the 90s. All right, so tune in for that, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you guys next time. Excelsior.
True believers, some of you are snowed in right now. I know it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're snowed in, there's no better time than to pick up a stack of comic books and read them.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if you've already read them. Read them again.